I thought my biggest mistake was trusting her. But the real mistake was coming home early from work and walking into our bedroom. She wasn't alone. She was with someone. And not just anyone. He smelled like sewage. I wish I were exaggerating. That moment split my life in two. And if you think that was the worst part, you're wrong. I wasn't supposed to come home early that day. Tuesdays were always the longest. I worked second shift at a distribution center, sorting packages, loading trucks. Nothing glamorous. Just hours of backbreaking work. But that day, my supervisor cut me early, some truck schedule changed, and I was back by 6:40 p.m. instead of 11. I remember holding the sandwich I picked up on the way. I thought I'd surprise Jenny. Maybe we'd eat together for once. Maybe she'd smile like she used to before she got that promotion at the real estate office. Maybe we'd reconnect. But the second I opened the front door, something felt off. Our apartment smelled different. Not like candles or food. Like sweat, damp towels, and something else I couldn't place yet. I walked slowly down the hall. Lights were off in the living room. The bedroom door was closed, but there was music coming from inside. I paused. My heart started racing. Not because I thought anything was wrong. I'm not that guy. I never jumped to conclusions. But then I heard her laugh. Jenny's laugh was soft and sweet when she used it on me. But this time, it was sharp, guttural, like a cackle. It sounded like she was drunk or high on adrenaline. Then I heard a man's voice. Low. Gruff. I turned the knob. And there she was. On the bed. Straddling a man with a stained high-visibility vest still on. His hands were on her hips. His boots were still on his feet, mud-crusted on the soles, and the air in the room reeked like wet garbage and rust. The smell hit me like a wave. That's when I recognized it. He was a trash collector. One of the guys who worked the morning routes in our neighborhood. They didn't hear me at first. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, frozen. Jenny saw me first. Her smile died instantly. The guy didn't even flinch. Just kept looking at her like I wasn't real. Then she said it. Oh, you're home early. No shock. No guilt. Just irritation, like I interrupted a phone call. That was the moment I knew. She didn't love me. She didn't respect me. I was just a placeholder in her life, a roommate with a ring. I didn't say a word. I dropped the sandwich on the floor and walked out. My hands were shaking. I couldn't even cry. But I remember hearing her voice behind me as I closed the door. You're such a loser, Rob. You don't even knock. Who does that? And the guy laughed. He laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd heard all year. That laugh still echoes in my head. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I just sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from breaking apart. But it was only the beginning. The worst wasn't the betrayal. It was what came next. What she did after I found out. She made me feel like I was the one who owed her an apology. And that's where it really starts. The next morning, I came back to get my things. I didn't sleep. Didn't even blink. I drove around all night, stopping in empty parking lots, gas stations. When the sun finally rose, I pulled up outside our apartment and sat there for 30 minutes before going in. I was hoping she'd be gone. But of course, she wasn't. She was in the kitchen, barefoot, sipping coffee like nothing had happened, wearing one of my shirts. When she saw me, she didn't flinch. Oh, look who finally decided to come home. You left a mess last night. I didn't say anything. I just walked past her to the bedroom. I started pulling a duffel bag out of the closet, stuffing socks, boxers, jeans. My hands were shaking. I couldn't even fold them properly. She followed me in. Seriously? You're not even going to talk to me? She asked. I turned to her, finally. What do you want me to say? She smiled. Smiled. That you're overreacting. That you understand I need more than whatever this, she gestured around the room, has become. I stared at her. I was trying to find the person I fell in love with. But she wasn't there anymore. Or maybe she never was. Then she walked up close to me and said it like it was a joke. You really thought I was faithful, didn't you? That's kinda sweet. Pathetic. But sweet. I stepped back. She laughed again. Oh, come on, Rob. You seriously thought I was only with you? You, with your predictable shifts and bargain grocery store flowers. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But I didn't. I sat down on the edge of the bed, bag half packed. Then she dropped the bomb. That guy? The one from last night? He's been around for months. You just never noticed. You're so trusting. That's what makes this so easy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She bent down in front of me, like she was trying to be gentle. Look, I still care about you, okay? But I'm not going to live in denial just to keep you happy. You're comfortable, safe, but you're not exciting. I closed my eyes. And then she said the thing that broke something in me. You always said you'd do anything for me. Prove it. Stay. Forgive me. Let's try again. That was the moment I realized just how little she thought of me. She wasn't sorry. She didn't regret it. She wanted control. And the worst part? For a second, I actually considered it. That's who I was back then. Weak. Spineless. I thought maybe if I just forgave her, she'd come back to me. That maybe I wasn't enough, and I needed to try harder. But she wasn't done humiliating me. When I didn't answer, she walked out of the room and called someone. Loud enough for me to hear. Yeah, he's still here. I think he's about to cry. You were right. He'll never leave me. I could do whatever I want and he'd still come crawling back. I heard him laugh through the phone. I zipped the bag and walked out. She didn't even try to stop me. And that was when something inside me flipped. I wasn't going to forgive her. Not this time. Not ever. She thought I was weak. She was about to find out just how wrong she was. For the next 2 days, I didn't leave the cheap motel I'd checked into. I couldn't. I couldn't stand the idea of anyone seeing me, asking how Jenny was, asking about the wedding plans, about the apartment. I stared at the ceiling until my eyes burned. I replayed everything she said in my head. Every word, every laugh, every smug look. She didn't just cheat. She enjoyed making a fool out of me. And what cut deepest wasn't the affair. It was that she knew I would forgive her. She counted on it. She had no fear, no shame. She was so sure I'd roll over like I always did. But something changed in me that night. I stopped crying. I stopped pacing. I started thinking. For 5 years, I'd made her life easy. Paid half the rent. Took her to work when her car broke down. Did her taxes. Bought her birthday gifts 6 months in advance. I knew her passwords. I managed our shared credit account. And that's when it hit me. She thought she held the cards. But in truth, she handed me every piece I needed to destroy her. I pulled out my laptop and started digging. First, our shared credit account. She forgot it was in my name. I looked through the charges for the last 6 months. Restaurants, bars, Ubers, hotels. Most of them didn't match up with the lies she told me about late meetings and girls' nights. There were 3 charges to a place called Harbor Crest Lodge, a seedy roadside motel 30 miles out of town. The dates matched nights she claimed she was sleeping at her sister's because of early showings. Interesting. Next, I searched through our shared Dropbox. She kept personal photos there. Forgot I had full access. Sure enough, I found an album named Summer Renovations. Inside were 23 images. Only 5 were of the kitchen we were redoing. The rest? Her in lingerie. Hotel rooms. One with a hand on her hip that definitely wasn't mine. I downloaded everything. Backed it up on a private drive. And then I thought of the guy. The garbage worker. She said he'd been around for months. I knew what company did pickups on our block. I called pretending to be a landlord filing a noise complaint. I described him. They gave me his full name. From there, it wasn't hard. I found his Facebook. His profile was public. And guess what? He had a girlfriend. A fiancée, actually. He'd posted a picture of her 2 weeks ago with the caption, "Can't wait to marry my queen." My fingers trembled over the keyboard. I opened a new message tab. Typed in the fiancé's name. I didn't send anything yet. Not yet. Because this wasn't just about exposing them. This wasn't about revenge by fire. This was going to be surgical. I was going to make Jenny feel everything I felt. Confused, discarded, powerless. But not all at once. I was going to take away what mattered to her, piece by piece. First her security. Then her reputation. Then her pride. I was weak when she looked down on me. Now I was watching her from above. And I was about to turn her world inside out. I waited exactly 1 week. I wanted her to think I was broken. Hiding. Nursing my wounds. I didn't answer her messages. I didn't block her either. I let her talk to herself in our old text thread. First asking where I was. Then accusing me of overreacting. Then calling me immature. Then sending a selfie in a low-cut top with "I miss you" under it. It was pathetic. She was testing the leash. Waiting for me to crawl back. But she didn't know I was already moving. The first thing I did was cancel the credit card she was using, the one tied to my name. She noticed within 24 hours. She messaged me. "Jenny, hey, the card's not working?" It got declined at Sephora. What's going on? I didn't respond. Then another. "Jenny, seriously, this is childish. We still have bills in both names. You can't just cut me off." I smiled. She wasn't scared yet, just annoyed. Perfect. I transferred what was left in our joint savings, $2,143, to my personal account. I had opened it that morning. Then I went to the leasing office for our apartment. Jenny never came with me to sign the renewal last fall, so the lease was solely in my name. I gave notice. 30 days. No exceptions. The manager told me they'd inform the other occupant. I nodded. Please do. When I got back to my motel room, I messaged her. Me, you have 30 days to find another place. Lease is in my name. It's canceled. She blew up my phone. 32 messages in an hour. I didn't read a single one. That weekend, I moved the rest of my things into storage. All I took with me was my laptop, a duffel, and the USB drive with all the photos and receipts. Then I went for the first real kill shot. I messaged the fiancé of the trash guy. I didn't lead with insults or accusations. I sent her screenshots. One of Jenny in the motel room, sitting on the guy's lap, both of them smiling. Another with a timestamp. A copy of the hotel receipt. Then I wrote, I think you deserve to know who your future husband really is. She responded within 3 minutes. Her, who are you? What is this? Me, the guy whose fiancé your man's been sleeping with. For months. The typing bubble stayed for almost a full minute. Then came a reply. Her, please tell me this is a joke. I sent the rest of the folder. 10 minutes later, she messaged me again. Her, I'm going to destroy him. I told her I wished her well and logged off. That was Saturday. By Monday morning, Jenny had a new crisis. Her job. Apparently, the trash guy's fiancé didn't just confront him, she emailed Jenny's office. From what I gathered through the grapevine, mutual friends who still didn't know the full story, Jenny was called into HR for disruptive behavior involving a romantic entanglement with a client-facing contractor. She messaged me again. Jenny, did you talk to Lacey? What did you send her? I'm being investigated at work. I didn't reply. The silence was louder than words. A day later, a package arrived at the leasing office addressed to me. I hadn't updated my address. I picked it up, and inside was a necklace. The one I gave her for our anniversary. No note. Just the return. That's when I knew it was working. The pressure was mounting. She was off balance. Panicking. She still thought this was about hurting her back. She hadn't realized yet. This wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. Of my pride. Of my name. Of everything she thought she could walk away with. And I wasn't close to finished. I should have seen it coming. People like Jenny, when you push them into a corner, they don't break. They don't cry. They strike. And I gave her the perfect reason. I underestimated how far she'd go. How low. It started with a message from my manager at work. Hey Rob, can we talk? My stomach dropped. We never talk. My job is the kind you just show up to, do your shift, and leave. I met him in his office after hours. He looked uncomfortable. So, we got a call from a woman today. Claimed she was your ex, said you've been harassing her, following her, and making threats. She gave HR your name, Rob. My blood ran cold. What? I said, sitting up. That's not true. That's completely false. I figured, he replied, leaning back. But corporate says we have to document it. She gave them a copy of some texts. Says they were from you. I didn't even have to see them. I knew exactly what she did. She took our old messages, ones from when we were fighting, and cut them up. Removed context. Made it look like I was unhinged. Do I need to get a lawyer involved? I asked. He sighed. I'd suggested. Just cover yourself. And lay low for a while. That night, I checked my phone. She had blocked me. I wasn't surprised. But I was angry. Because even though I hadn't broken any laws, even though I hadn't contacted her in weeks, she'd flipped the narrative. She went from cheater to victim. And I knew exactly why she did it. Control. She didn't care about consequences. She just wanted to own the story. That same night, a friend of mine from high school, David, messaged me. Hey, man. Just a heads up. Jenny's been posting some weird stuff. I opened her public Facebook. She hadn't blocked me there. The first post was a blurry picture of a stuffed bear I gave her for Valentine's Day 2 years ago. Captioned. Hard to believe someone who gave me this could be so emotionally unstable behind closed doors. The next post was worse. Ladies, don't ignore red flags. The ones who seem the softest can still break you. The comments were full of support. Her friends. Her coworkers. Even one of her cousins. I didn't comment. I didn't reply. But I felt sick. She was winning. Not because she was right, but because she was faster. Louder. People believed her because they had no reason not to. And me? I was just a guy sleeping on a motel mattress, job hanging by a thread, watching his name get dragged through the mud. She had made me the bad guy in a movie she wrote. And worst of all, it worked. A few days later, I went back to the leasing office to pick up mail. The receptionist looked at me like I was dirt. She didn't smile like before. Didn't even say hello. That was the moment I realized she was building her case. She wasn't just fighting me. She was setting me up to lose, socially, legally, reputationally. It was brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. And I had to admit, it knocked the wind out of me. For the first time since I walked out that bedroom door, I felt helpless again. But only for a minute. Because as I sat in my car, reading the posts, the lies, the comments, I realized something. She wanted a war? She just fired the first real bullet. And now it was my turn to reload. I stopped playing defense. No more waiting for her next move. No more reacting. I was done being the punchline in a story she hijacked. If she wanted to paint me as unstable, I'd give her something stable, evidence. Receipts. Proof. I didn't want revenge through chaos. I wanted leverage. So I went quiet. Publicly. But privately? I got busy. First thing I did was contact a lawyer. Not one of those billboard guys who promise cash for crashes. I found someone who specialized in defamation and digital harassment. She took one look at the screenshots I had, especially Ginny's post with indirect but clearly malicious language, and said, "We can work with this." I told her everything. Start to finish. The affair. The financial sabotage. The false report to my employer. The HR incident. She nodded. "You're not the first man this has happened to," she said. "But you're documenting better than most." She told me to sit tight while her team began collecting. In the meantime, I had another idea, one that didn't require courtrooms. I logged back into our old shared Dropbox. Ginny hadn't changed the password. Rookie mistake. Inside was a folder she'd renamed Taxes 2022. Innocent enough. But it wasn't taxes. It was a collection of selfies. Some tasteful. Some not. Some clearly taken in hotel rooms. But what caught my eye wasn't the photos. It was the metadata. Every photo you take stores hidden data, location, timestamp, even device type. I ran a batch export of every file's EXIF data. Most of the photos were tagged with dates and GPS coordinates. And guess what? 2 of them were dated exactly during the time she claimed she was volunteering at her mom's retirement gala, out of state. The photos? Taken inside a cheap local motel 10 minutes from our apartment. And better yet, the trash guy, the one I'd already exposed, appeared in the mirror behind her in one of them. I didn't send these to anyone yet. I saved them, organized them, timestamped them in folders. Then I moved on to my next target, her job. I wasn't going to file a complaint. That would be obvious. Instead, I created an anonymous email, and I sent it directly to her company's ethics hotline. No threats, no accusations, just a clean, concise message with evidence attached. This employee is actively involved in a relationship with a contractor currently working with your properties. This may violate your code of conduct. Attached her dated hotel receipts, photos, and messages. I didn't sign it, but I knew it would land hard. Companies like hers live in fear of liability, especially when client-facing contractors and HR-sensitive issues are involved. By the end of that week, she was called into another meeting. How do I know? She texted me. "Jenny, did you seriously email my job? What's your problem?" No hello. No defense. Just panic. She knew exactly what I had. And I wasn't done yet. I also emailed the garbage company. Not to get him fired. I wasn't trying to ruin some guy's life. But I did send a very polite message saying, "One of your drivers has been visiting residential properties off hours in a company vehicle. I have license plate photos and dates. Please let me know if this is within policy." I attached one of the photos Ginny had taken of them together, where his reflective vest clearly showed the company logo. Again, no threats. Just pressure. I wasn't attacking. I was squeezing. By the end of the week, both of them were rattled. She took down the Facebook posts. She stopped messaging me. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was drowning in her lies. I was dry. Standing. Calculated. Ginny thought she'd ended me. But now? Now she knew I wasn't just some fragile man she could mock in the hallway while her affair partner zipped up his pants. I was a quiet storm. And she just felt the first drop. I was feeling confident. Too confident. And that's when she reminded me who I was dealing with. Ginny didn't come at me directly this time. She used someone else, Her mother. Now, let me explain something about her mom. Barbara is the kind of woman who could host a tea party and a police interrogation in the same afternoon. Proper. Calculated. Manipulative in the way only someone who raised a daughter like Ginny could be. I was walking out of my motel one morning when I saw her. In my parking lot. Wearing sunglasses, holding a folder. "Robert," she said, like she was talking to a child who disappointed her. "We need to talk." I hadn't spoken to her in months. Not since before everything fell apart. "I don't think we have anything to talk about," I replied, opening my car door. "You're hurting my daughter," she said coldly. "And I think it's time we end this mess before lawyers get involved." I froze. Then she handed me the folder. Inside were printed screenshots, ones I hadn't seen before. Messages that looked like I wrote them. Threats. Vague accusations. Even one that said, "You'll be sorry when I'm done." They were fake. I never sent them. But the layout? The structure? They looked real enough. Ginny had built a second narrative. She wasn't just trying to destroy me emotionally or socially anymore. She was laying the groundwork for legal warfare. "You should know," Barbara continued. "Ginny is considering filing for a protective order. If you keep interfering in her life, the next step will be court." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was brilliant. She'd outmaneuvered me. She created a paper trail. Manufactured evidence. Twisted the truth just enough that it would be hard to refute. And now she had her mother delivering the threat like a contract killer in pearls. "I haven't even spoken to her," I said, keeping my voice low. "She's the one who cheated, lied, destroyed everything." Barbara shrugged. "Then you should have left with dignity. But instead, you've made this ugly." She got back in her car and drove off. I stood there, folder in hand, watching her taillights disappear. That afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer. "We need to talk," she said, her voice tight. Ginny had filed a formal complaint with the police. False statements. Alleged harassment. And attached to it, printouts of those same fabricated messages. My lawyer told me not to panic. She'd seen worse. But her tone said something different. "This could escalate," she warned. "Protect yourself. Stay quiet. Don't give her anything new to work with." I nodded, numb. I spent the next week looking over my shoulder, checking my phone, half expecting a knock at the door. The silence was suffocating. Ginny had flipped the board. I was no longer the man exposing her lies. I was the one defending against hers. And it worked. A few mutual friends dropped me. Unfollowed. Blocked. One even sent me a message saying, "I hope you get the help you need." She had won public sympathy. She had created a second truth. And once again, I was back where I started, alone, ashamed, doubting everything. But only for a moment. Because this time, I knew what to do. If she wanted to play with fire, I'd show her what it felt like to get burned. I spent the next week in complete silence. No texts. No emails. No online posts. Let her think she won. Let her feel safe. Because while she flaunted her fake victim act, I was preparing my next move, not with emotion, not with rage, but with patience and paperwork. First, I hired a second lawyer. Not just defamation this time, civil litigation. She specialized in reputational retaliation cases. Mostly corporate clients, but she'd handled a few cases like mine. I showed her everything. The fabricated messages. The false police complaint. The manipulation through third parties. And most importantly, the original, untouched chat logs I still had backed up from months before the breakup. She studied them carefully. "You're in a better position than you think," she said. "But we can't just respond. We need to initiate." And so we did. I filed a formal civil suit. Grounds: defamation, emotional damages, and intentional infliction of reputational harm through falsified statements. She wasn't expecting that. I didn't tell her. I let the legal notice speak for itself. It was served to her office. Delivered in a big white envelope during a team meeting, right in front of her peers. How do I know? Because one of her coworkers, someone I used to consider a friend, sent me a photo of Ginny holding the envelope like it was radioactive. The subject line on the documents? Robert C. versus Jennifer M. A friend told me she left work early that day. That same night, I emailed the HR department of her company again, this time not anonymous. This time with legal documentation attached, including my lawyer's contact and a statement explaining that Ginny was now under active investigation for false claims tied to their internal ethics policy. By morning, she was placed on administrative leave. I got the update through a mutual acquaintance who didn't know I'd engineered the whole thing. Her world was shrinking. And I wasn't done. I sent a formal request to the police department to include a written statement challenging her claims, citing evidence of fabrication, backed by legal representation. My lawyer delivered it in person. Everything had her signature on it. Her name. Her lies. And now? Now it was her who had to answer. But that wasn't even the best part. Because remember that fiancé of the trash guy? She reached out to me again. Said she wasn't done, either. Apparently, she'd been gathering messages, photos, timelines of her own. She found out Jenny had not only lied to her, but also borrowed money from the guy, her now ex-fiancé, to pay for gifts and hotel rooms for Jenny. She told me she was ready to go public. I asked if she was sure. She said yes. So I helped her. Together, we compiled a single document. One PDF. Neatly labeled, timestamped, sourced. We didn't leak it to tabloids. We didn't post it on Reddit. We sent it to Jenny's professional board, the licensing body that oversaw her real estate credentials. Why? Because she'd been using a corporate account, hers, tied to the agency to book those hotel rooms. Violation of policy. Violation of contract. Violation of ethics. The final email I sent that week was to her short and clean. No more lies. No more threats. This time, you don't get to control the narrative. See you in court. No response. Just silence. And for the first time in months, that silence wasn't suffocating. It was power. Mine. She thought she'd buried me. But now she was the one sinking under the weight of her own story. Her own lies. And I was the one holding the shovel. The day before our first court hearing, I got a letter from the police. They were officially closing the false harassment case Jenny filed. That should have felt like a win. It didn't. Because that same afternoon, I got served again, this time by her. A countersuit. She was accusing me of defamation, emotional abuse, and public humiliation, all based on the fact that I spread damaging lies about her affair, got her suspended from her job, and weaponized her personal photos. It was a perfect reversal. She took my strategy, mirrored it, and threw it back with twice the venom. The documents were professionally written. Her lawyer had polished them to look airtight. They even included testimonies from her coworkers, people I didn't even know, claiming I had been possessive and manipulative throughout our relationship. I felt sick reading it. Not because it was true, but because it didn't have to be. If you repeat something enough times, in the right way, with the right tone, people stop checking facts. She wasn't just trying to defend herself anymore. She was trying to erase me. Financially. Reputationally. Personally. I went to my lawyer's office that evening. We sat down and combed through everything. She was calm, focused, surgical. Legally? This is messy, but survivable, she said. Emotionally. I asked. She sighed. That's going to be harder. The hearing came fast. In the hallway outside the courtroom, I saw Jenny for the first time in months. She looked different. Not weaker. Not remorseful. Polished. Hair perfect. Makeup subtle but flawless. Business suit like armor. She glanced at me like I was nothing. Not even a wrinkle in her day. And that was when it hit me. She was enjoying this. Not because she was winning, but because she'd finally made me into the version of myself she always wanted me to be. Powerless. Small. Silent. Inside the courtroom, it got worse. Her lawyer was good. Too good. He made me sound like the unstable one. Like the obsessive ex who couldn't handle rejection. He leaned into every quiet moment in our relationship. Every unanswered text. Every night she went out without telling me. Twisted all of it into a narrative I barely recognized, but one that sounded real to people who didn't know better. I sat there, listening to my name get turned into a punchline. And for a moment, I thought it was over. I truly believed I had lost. But then, as court adjourned and we all stood to leave, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze. Her expression didn't crack, but I saw the way she stiffened. Her fingers tightened. Her jaw clenched. It was just a second. A single second. But I knew that look. I'd seen it before. Years ago, when we almost got caught sneaking out of a hotel we couldn't afford. That flash of panic behind the performance. She turned and left the courtroom without a word. I followed my lawyer out, heart racing, mind spinning. Back at my motel, I opened my laptop. And there it was. An email. From someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Subject line. I think you'll want to see this. It's about Jenny. Inside? Screenshots. Documents. Voice recordings. Stuff I never even knew existed. Stuff that could ruin her, right? Completely. And in that moment, everything shifted again. I wasn't the one in free fall anymore. She was. And she had no idea how close I was to pulling the pin. I didn't sleep that night. The email sat open on my laptop, its attachments glowing like a loaded weapon. Inside was everything. Audio files, texts, expense reports from her company account, even a voice memo where she bragged to a coworker about how easy it is to spin the narrative when the guy's already known for being soft. The sender? A former colleague of hers, someone she threw under the bus during a past HR investigation. He said he'd kept these receipts just in case. Apparently, my little legal shakeup had reopened old wounds. This guy wanted payback. I was just the perfect vessel. I stared at those files until the sun came up. I could barely breathe. This wasn't just enough to win my case. This was enough to ruin Jenny. Permanently. Disbarment from her real estate board. Civil liabilities for misuse of corporate resources. Ethics violations that could blacklist her from the industry. And reputational damage so severe, she'd probably never step foot in a professional office again. All I had to do was forward the folder. One click. I opened my email draft. Attached the files. Addressed it to her company's legal department. Then I just sat there. My finger hovered over the mouse. That's when the knock came. Not loud. Not angry. Just soft. When I opened the door, she was on the other side. Jenny. Knees scraped. Eyes bloodshot. Hair frizzy like she hadn't slept in days. No makeup. No suit. Just an oversized hoodie and the smallest voice I'd ever heard come out of her. Please, she whispered. Don't send it. I didn't say anything. I just watched her. She stepped forward, then dropped to her knees on the motel floor. I know what you have. I don't even know how you got it, but I know. Please. I'll lose everything. I closed the door behind her. Slowly. She stayed kneeling. I was wrong, she said. About everything. I thought I was smarter. I thought I could control it. But I can't. Not anymore. Her voice cracked. And then, she started to cry. Not crocodile tears. Not performative. Real, shaking, humiliating sobs. The kind that tear through a person like they're being emptied from the inside. I don't want to be destroyed, she said, still staring at the floor. I don't want my parents to know. I don't want to start over from nothing. I can't. I sat down on the bed. Still silent. She crawled toward me. Actually crawled. Clutched my leg like a drowning person grabs driftwood. I'm sorry, she breathed. Not because I lost. Not because you won. But because I broke you. I broke someone who never deserved it. I made you small because it made me feel big. I'm disgusting. I know. She looked up. Tears streaming down her face, lips trembling. And then she said the one thing I never expected to hear. You don't have to forgive me. I don't deserve it. Just, please don't end me. Please don't erase me. My hand was still on the mouse. The email open. The attachments ready. I stared at her for a long time. And in that moment, I realized. She wasn't powerful anymore. She wasn't in control. She was finished. Not by evidence. Not by court. But by herself. I closed the laptop. She blinked, not understanding. I stood, walked past her, opened the door. You can go, I said. Her mouth opened. Closed. She didn't move. I'm not going to destroy you, Jenny. You'll do that to yourself. And I meant it. She left, knees wobbling, broken. She would never recover the life she had. Not fully. Her story would haunt her. Her guilt would follow her. She didn't need my revenge. She'd become her own punishment. And I had something better than victory. I had peace. So I ask you, now that it's over, what would you have done in my place?